Yo, what is going on, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. I'm your host, Chris Maltby, and today I'm joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, how you doing?
It's pretty great, enjoying this Friday afternoon.
Yes, a very nice day today in the Chicago suburbs, but everyone is quarantined, so same old for now. If you guys are listening to this episode after listening to the Adam Rank episode that is going up tonight when we were recording this one on Friday, do us a favor and subscribe and like this podcast, as we're going to keep pushing out a ton of good content. We've got a ton of good guests coming on throughout the next couple of weeks. And you can also check out our website, beardown.com, for more. I normally don't go off track like that, but I would like to give that little promo before we start. So, in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down and reacting to some stuff that was said during the press conferences today. And by the press conferences, I mean Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace had a press conference, Robert Quinn had a press conference, and most importantly, probably Nick Foles had a press conference, a virtual call. I don't even know. It was like a conference call. But we're going to be breaking down some stuff said in those because there's definitely some important pieces coming from those. And let's just hop right into it. So let's start off with Nagy and Pace's press conference, Jaylen. So opening up, I don't know if you listened to the press conferences or not. Did you get a chance to tune into them? Okay.
No, I got to listen to the Nagy and Pace one, but I didn't listen to the Nick Foles and Robert. No.
So if you listened to the Nagy and Pace one, you heard right off the bat when that one started that Pace said coming into the season that, or something that Pace did say coming into the season, is that Mitch was the guy. Coming into this press conference, you heard him immediately off the bat say that there's an open competition. So let's leave the results of that competition in what is coming up aside. Are you surprised that there's a competition after Nagy committed this much to Pace, or after Pace committed this much to Mitch, or did you expect this? Because Pace does things a lot that don't correlate with what he says.
So one thing I've learned as being a Bears fan, and Ryan Pace is your general manager, never trust anything he says. His
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, his plans never come out until they happen. You mainly see this in a draft, like you never knew who he's interested in. So I'm not surprised that he said it's going to be an open competition. Back when he did say Mitch is the guy, he had to say that because it was the only quarterback on the roster at that time. It wasn't going to be predicted that we were going to get Nick Foles or any other quarterback, as a matter of fact. So I'm not surprised that we're having an open QB competition. As soon as we traded for Foles, I knew it was going to be a QB competition. This trade helps us, or helps Mitch, say light a fire under him. You're not going to be the starting quarterback if you mess up. You're on a very short lease, and that's what Nick Foles is here to do. He's replaced a good quarterback in Carson Wentz when he was hurt and led them to a Super Bowl. So I'm not surprised that it's a QB competition. Hopefully this does help Mitch and, shows that he can be, the quarterback of the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely. This one really doesn't surprise me either. I know we have different views on the quarterbacks, but I think we both can agree that the writing has been on the wall for a while for Mitch, that this was going to be his last chance to prove himself, and if not, he could be gone after this year. So yeah, I expected this for a while. I think for a while the team knew that they were obviously going to have to move on from Chase Daniel and bring in someone that could actually compete. And it's good to see that Mitch and Foles are already developing a good relationship, because last year I'm pretty sure it was under half of the starting quarterbacks that started week one played the entire NFL season. So if someone does need to come in, it's nice that they'll have a good relationship. Foles said in his press conference that he's already been talking to Mitch, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who starts. They want to do what's best for the Chicago Bears. Both great teammates, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out. But obviously, I'm not surprised, and I think Mitch needs to do it here, or else he could see himself not on the team very soon. So, going off of what I just said there, something else that Pace said in his press conference that also can kind of be assumed we know what's going to happen. He didn't commit to Mitchell Trubisky's fifth-year option. Is that something that worries you? Because obviously, if this training camp battle doesn't pan out how it is, I'm honestly thinking the presumed assumption is we move on from Mitch after this year and draft someone in 2021.
This doesn't really worry me, because if this is coming in as a QB competition, that means Mitch has a chance to win this QB competition. So if he wins it and, he does what I think he can do this season, we should be able to have another year before we have to re-sign him. If we don't pick up his fifth-year option after this season, well, if he does good or not, if he does good, then we have to re-sign him, give him all this money before he has to open market after coming off a good season. So I expect Pace to pick up this fifth-year option, especially because he said this is a QB competition. He's not coming in saying Foles is the guaranteed starter, and Mitch is going to be the backup. So I definitely think he's going to pick up the option.
Yeah, and that was actually my next question, was going to be should the Bears pick up that option. But I understand what you're saying as far as if Mitch does play well, it would be stupid not to pick it up to re-sign him. But at the same time, I was talking about, does it worry you as in, like, does it worry you about his commitment to Mitch? And honestly, I would say, personally, for me, it does worry me a little bit. It started worrying me at the NFL Combine when everything was coming out about them wanting to pick up a veteran, and it was unlikely that they're going to pick up that option. It's been reported as well by some good sources that was the case. So that worries me a little bit. I'm not completely sure, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. You said you thought they were going to pick it up. Personally, I think they don't, and they risk it. I think personally that Foles is the in-house favorite. We don't have to get big into that right now, but I just think they don't pick up that option. So, heading into Foles' interview, Foles said in his interview that the Bears team in 2018 that they played in the playoffs, obviously in the infamous double-doink game, was one of the best teams that he's ever faced and could have won the Super Bowl that year if they won that game. So before we talk about the 2020 team, we talked about this a little bit before we hopped on the call here. Do you think if the Bears won that game in 2018, they could have won the title?
Like you said, we were literally just talking about this before we hit the record button. That team was probably one of the best teams that I've ever seen as a Bears fan. It is the best team I've ever seen as a Bears fan. That was my first time ever seeing my Bears be in the playoffs since I started becoming a fan of them. That team was amazing. We had the best defense in the league. We were creating so many turnovers. The fact that we had 2 turnovers in that game and we still managed to lose is crazy. So definitely, if double doink wouldn't have happened, I'm pretty sure we would have been in the Super Bowl, if not the NFC. If not the Super Bowl, then definitely the NFC Championship. We would have had a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we obviously we can't talk about the past and dwell on the past too much because we're worried about 2020. But you never know, man. The Bears killed the Rams that year. They would have had a chance to go to LA in the divisional round, I believe. Yeah, because we lost in the wild card round. And play the Rams, and I think they would have honestly gotten that done. But honestly, moving on now, do you think now with Foles and or Trubisky, whoever starts, that the Bears can repeat that success in 2018 and try once again to make a playoff run in 2020?
Yes, definitely. This team is very hungry. We didn't have the best season last year after coming off one of a very great season. We went 8-8. We had so many struggles the last season where there was the offensive play. We had a lot of injuries to Hakeem. We weren't very consistent. So I feel like coming into this 2020 season, this team is hungry. They want to get back into the playoffs, rather who the quarterback is. Pace wants to be the great team again, so he's coming into this offseason, filling up mostly all the holes we have so far. Yeah, I definitely think this team can get back into the playoffs. If we can return to half of what we were in 2018 on the defensive side and the offensive side, I think we're going to be a great team. And adding another key edge rusher, which is something we didn't have in 2018 with Robert Quinn, who had 11 and a half sacks last year. Floyd didn't really give us that in that 2018 season. This defense should be very elite like it was before. This offense, Nagy having to look back at what he did wrong this season and, come back and fix it.
Absolutely. So, honestly, for me, I also think they can make a playoff run this year. I think we're going to be able to say that a lot more affirmatively in the summer, and I think we're also going to be able to say it a lot more affirmatively after the draft, because I think we need one more quality starter on the offensive line. The Bears announced this morning that Jermaine Ifedi would move from tackle to guard, and doubt Ifedi all you want. He had his best year at right guard for the Seahawks 4 years ago after he was drafted 31st overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. So I think if we pick up one more good starter and maybe Ifedi pans out better than most of us think, I think we could be decent for the line. Looking to fix that more in the 2021 offseason after we figure out, obviously, the quarterback situation, see how Jimmy Graham works out and stuff like that. So That's an issue for the future, but I also think we need to grab one more offensive lineman in the draft, and we could be in a really good spot. So I think that playoff run could be coming. I think no matter who's at quarterback, I think John DeFilippo will help out whoever that is, even if that's Mitch. And I think the offense will be the best that we've seen since Nagy has been here, possibly even better than 2018 when Mitch was a Pro Bowler, or a Pro Bowl alternate, I must say. So let's get into the next question. Jaylen, obviously we know what's going on right now. It's very uncertain times in the world with the spread of COVID-19, the coronavirus. The Bears have talked about, doing draft communications at a remote location or possibly at home or doing stuff virtually. Or maybe even at Hallis Hall. Ryan Pace basically said they have a lot of options to explore as far as that goes. But talking about this QB competition, there's a legitimate possibility that if they want to start the season on time, that training camp could be shortened this offseason, depending on how everything goes. So, if there is shortened time and there's a shorter training camp, or maybe even none, who do you think's in a better position to start between Foles and Trubisky? I think, obviously, Foles with the familiarity with the offense might have his foot in the door on that one. But if the offseason is shortened, who do you think has a better chance to start?
I think Mitch has the better chance. Foles has been in the offense for way longer, like before Mitch was in the league. But this is his third year coming into the Nagy's offense. He had a great rookie season in Nagy's offense. He didn't have a great last year, very down season in general. But if it is a short off season, a shortened training camp, I definitely think Mitch has the better chance. He knows the receivers more. He's more familiar with Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Javon Williams, and stuff like that. Not really. This is Foles. That's going to be Foles' first opportunity to get chemistry with the receivers, the timing, how they come out their routes and stuff like that. So if it is a shortened training camp, I definitely think Mitch has that chance just because of his familiarity. Yeah, that's where I can see it with the offense and the weapons in general.
Absolutely. Well, I get part of what you're saying, and I think that's also really important. Foles said today in his interview that he wanted to learn all the language that our coaches use when they're coaching and brush up on all of that so that once training camp, if and when it does get started, he wants to be able to talk to his receivers, talk to the running backs, talk to the offensive linemen in the same quote-unquote language that the coaches use so he doesn't, maybe there's not crossfire and people get confused. So I think becoming familiar with all the players is going to be very big for Nick Foles, and that's why I think training camp's big for him. But I also think at the same time, if it is for some reason cut short, which I don't know whether I expect it to or not, I have no clue. We'll see what happens with this virus. But if it is cut short, I think Foles knows the offense better than Mitch for sure. Maybe doesn't know the Nagy piece of it as clearly as he should, but the argument could definitely be made that he knows the laser, the DeFilippo part of it, and that's going to be very important as well. But I do expect training camp to happen, and I think it's literally just going to be a fight to win it. So now talking more about this QB job, because QB1 obviously is up for grabs. Last year, Nagy didn't play the starters much during the preseason, and he came out this morning and said that both guys are going to play in the preseason, Foles and Trubisky, and he said they're going to want to compete like they're starters when playing for that starting job. So do you think it's a good idea that we might have Foles and Trubisky in preseason games for long stretches?
Yes, this is a very good idea. Last season, Mitch only played 3 snaps, and they were all handoffs. And you see how slow that offense was coming into Week 1. The offense was abysmal in Week 1. So because they didn't get the reps they needed, they didn't have a dress rehearsal game. They actually, none of the starters played that game. They all set that game. So I think the preseason is for new pieces and a new offense to be familiar with. This was only the second season that they were learning the offense, and having them sit a whole preseason was not very smart in my opinion. Coming into that season, I knew that wasn't going to be very smart, especially with this Mitch being, especially at that time, this is Mitch being his second season in the offense. So I felt like that was also one of the reasons why the offense really didn't get off to a great start in
Until like the Washington game.
Exactly, which is like not because that was the third game of the season. The second game when we played the Broncos, we didn't have a very good offensive game.
Yeah, absolutely.
We only won because Pernero hit an amazing kick. So them starting the preseason is going to help. But like I said, whoever the quarterback is, whether it be Mitch or Foles, this is going to help the offense in general. So I think this is a very smart idea.
Absolutely. I also think it's a pretty good idea to play them both in the preseason, not only to see how they're both becoming accustomed to the offense, but just in general, these guys need reps. I said it earlier, but I think under half of the quarterbacks who started week 1 last year started the entire season, whether it be due to injury or getting benched or something. So the repetition is good for whoever's going to play, as there's definitely a possibility that one of them goes off the ropes and there's a possible replacement. And that maybe might happen multiple times throughout the season, so they want to be as prepared as possible. So Nagy, talking more about the preseason, said today that all players are going to earn more reps in the preseason than they did last season. I think I'm going to get a pretty similar answer from you, but do you like the idea of that? Whether it be first, second, or third stringers getting more reps?
Yeah, definitely. We're having new players coming to this offense. Jimmy Graham, a receiver. What was that?
We've got a lot of guys to try out on the defense too.
Just not the offense, like the defensive side as well.
Artie Burns,
as in Robert Quinn, Artie Burns. Young players that really didn't have a chance to play last season, like Duke Shelley, who really didn't have a chance to play in the preseason. So this is a better opportunity. It gives Kevin Tyler more snaps for him to become that CB number 2. So I like this idea.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good idea. Not only for that, but also just to try out different combinations of players in the preseason.
Yeah.
You could put Jordan Lucas at strong safety and Kevin Tolliver at cornerback 2. And then another drive you could have Deion Bush as strong safety and Artie Burns as quarterback 2. So you can try out a ton of combinations, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think overall it's just good for repetition to play more in the preseason. We've got one more thing to talk about. We're recording this right when the Robert Quinn press conference is going on, and something funny came from that. So Robert Quinn literally said his free agency decision was made by a coin flip. He had the Bears as heads and the Falcons as tails, and the coin sent him to Chicago. So I'm going to ask you, Jaylen, did that coin make the right choice for Robert Quinn landing in Chicago?
Of course. Whatever coin he used needs to be placed in a box somewhere and sold for millions of dollars later down the road when he wins the Super Bowl with us. I think, to be honest, I think that's kind of like crazy how you let a coin decide your decision on where you're going to play for the next couple of years, where you're going to live.
I mean, clearly he knew he was going to make a lot of money wherever he ended up.
Completely two different cities. One is in the Midwest. It's very cold here. Both really big cities. They're way different teams. So I think that's very funny. He used a very creative way to choose where he wants to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of me still can't believe that's even factual. It's like giving me anxiety. But luckily the coin landed on us. Well, that'll pretty much do it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm not going to give any previews as to who's coming on, but we've got a lot of really fun guests coming up in the future. And we're going to keep trying to keep you in the loop with a ton of guests and more people just to give their opinion on Bears football moving down the road. If you would like to find me and Jaylen's fan page, you can find the links to those down in the description. I promise Jaylen's going to start posting at some point on his fan page.
Sooner or later.
But you can also find more Bear Down content on our website, beardown.com. And you can also find our store on Teespring where we are selling some merch. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Bear Down. And please do me a favor and smash a like on this podcast and subscribe. And if you would like, turn on post notifications by clicking that bell. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We're going to try to get out hopefully 3 to 4 podcasts a week. All-star editor Zach Rimbos is working very hard on making mixtapes, and he's going to try and get those out. I think every Monday we're going to start doing Mixtape Monday. So that's pretty cool.
Shout out to Zach.
Shout out to Zach, True Time Chicago. You can check him out. But that'll pretty much do it for this one, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, Bear Down Chicago. Peace.
Peace.